Well, today I wanted to talk about forecasting and prediction errors again. I specifically want to get a little wonky when it comes to what ensemble methods are. Now, I have other videos out there. Check these out here. They're a little less sophisticated, but I want you to kind of go back and think, hey, I'm an investor. I'm trying to predict the future returns. So regardless of your sophistication level, think about how these concepts that we're going to talk about, even though they're a little bit targeted to machine learning, how you can incorporate them into your process regardless of a sophistication. So again, we are trying to predict the future in terms of returns. We want to invest in the assets that end up having the best returns, even though we understand that we're going to have forecasting errors. We have learned that as the complexity of our forecasting models increases, that one type of error decreases, but another type increases. So there is an optimal model complexity that will kind of reduce our total error. And we also learned about ensemble methods. That basically says if we have unique models and put them together where they agree, those forecasts are going to be better than each of those individual models in isolation. Now, so I want you to think about a model that has outputs, say something like, strong sell, hold, buy, strong buy. So think about that as we talk about these different types of ensemble methods. So one is called, voting and averaging is a way to think about that. So you have these different models, and one would just be we take whatever the majority say. So if the majority say it's a buy, then that's what we go with. Another thing is you could weight them. Okay, well, this one seems to be better, so we're going to give that one a higher weight. We could just take an average of those, or we could take a weighted average depending on the efficacy of those models. But it's just a way of scoring, your signal again, sell, hold, buy, that type of thing, based on kind of what these individual models are saying by weighting or using some kind of voting mechanism. That's all we're talking about there. There's another thing called stacked generalization. So again, you have a bunch of base models, all these different models, and instead of averaging them, you're going to say, well, they all have their own strengths and weaknesses. So we're going to create this other model, and we're going to use as the inputs for that model, both the inputs for the base models and the predictions of these base models here. The idea is to kind of this final model is going to pick up on some of the strengths and weaknesses there, and it's going to do something a little bit different, a little more sophisticated than some kind of weighting and voting scheme. All right. There's something called a bootstrapping or bagging. Okay. So this is kind of the realizing that as our models get more sophisticated, there's a chance or the tendency to overfit increase. So that idea there is that our model is perfectly tailored to what we've already seen, and it's going to be bad at predicting the future. So the idea here is we're going to, instead of looking at the full sample, we're going to just kind of randomly pick subsamples. And we're going to build models off all these little subsamples, and we're going to find a model that best kind of puts them together. The idea there being that if it works at all these little subsamples and we put it together, we're going to have less overfitting in our model. Finally here, boosting, and this is something that piggybacks right on something I've been saying for a long time, which is embrace being wrong. I have a bunch of videos on that. And again, watch these videos, kind of conceptually understand it. Those are the videos there. The idea here is instead of focusing on what's working, we're going to focus on what isn't working in the model, where the misclassifications are. And we're going to focus on that and improve that into another model. And we're going to sequentially do this. We're just going to keep what isn't working, fix that. What isn't working, fix that. What isn't working, fix that. And we're going to do this over time. And finally, when you get to the nth model, things should be better. Now, I have a framework for this. Again, embrace being wrong. Watch those videos. Can talk about how you can implement that kind of philosophically in your firm. The question is, how can you implement these things? Again, that was the first thing I posed. How can you implement these things in your current process? How can you get better? How can your models be better? How can you better predict things? How can you have better outcomes for yourself, your firm, and your clients? I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much. I'm Brian Kozlowski.